Hey everybody, welcome to the dark stream. I'm Voxday, and you can find me at voxday.blogspot.com. If you want to tweet this to your friends, use the hashtag darkstream. That's how they can find it. Anyhow, no, it's actually not Pepe, it is Gab. I am not an original beta tester, but my wife Space Bunny was, and so Andrew was kind enough to send one along. So anyhow, a couple things. I was planning mostly to talk about the God Emperor and the revival of heroism, but the audio's bad. Drat! I got a new microphone. I would have thought that this would. I thought that was going to improve things. So anyhow, I'll probably have to take another look and see if I'm doing that right. But a couple things, news items. 2.5 hours ago, Reddit banned the alt-right subreddit, and it looks like they're going to ban the Donald as well. Now, a lot of people are kind of upset by that, but they shouldn't be. This was all predictable. This was all obvious. This was, in fact, predicted by me in my book, SJWs Always Lie. Remember, the subtitle of SJWs Always Lie is Taking Down the Thought Police. Well, guess who the thought police are? It's Reddit. It's Twitter. It's Facebook. It's the social media giants. That's why it is absolutely vital for you to support the alt-tech. It's absolutely vital for you to support Gab. I've seen Andrew is extending invites to all kinds of people on Reddit and everywhere else. All the people that are getting banned. He's encouraging people to donate their invites so that people who are banned from Reddit can move on to Gab and we can grow the alternatives. And it's very important that it's really important for you to hop in there and support Gab, support Infogalactic. Like I said, pretty soon we're within weeks of launching Infogalactic News, which I hope you're all going to support. Brave is fantastic. And there's going to be, I've heard there's going to be a new alternative to the various funding, the SJW Converge funding sites. I think it's going to be called QuickFund. And so all these alternatives are growing, and they need your support. Stop using the SJW Converge sites that hate you. They hate you. They hate your values. They hate everything you stand for. They hate the God Emperor. Why are you supporting them? Don't support them. You don't need to anymore. And so if you're looking for shirts, go to Crypto Fashion. You can look up, if you go to my site, voxday.blogspot.com, look in the left column, you can see that there's shirts marked Dark Lord Designs. The Dark Lord Designs are some of the ones that I come up with, and they've got their own shirts as well. They're really good quality. So anyhow, I would highly recommend them. I don't know if they take cryptocurrency or not, but if they're called Crypto Fashion, you would think they would. So if they don't, they should. Oh, Airbnb is absolutely SJW. Lyft is also SJW. And so, stop supporting these organizations. Look for alternatives, even if the alternatives are not as good. They will become, they will get better. They're getting better all the time. Already, Infogalactic does things that Wikipedia cannot do. We're in the process of completely replacing the Wikimedia engine. We're going to be introducing some stuff in the next few weeks here that are really going to surprise people. And so, just give people time, give them support. At Infogalactic, we're looking to increase the size of the burn unit. The burn unit are the people who sign up for monthly subscriptions from anywhere from $10 to $50 a month. And it makes a huge difference because that allows us to cover all of our server costs, cover all of the massive amounts of data that is being transferred, and allows us to take our resources and put them into developing these new features that we're adding and that we're going to be introducing soon. So that's the other thing. Also, Mike Cernovich just recently did his last Periscope. He talked about how a Twitter crackdown is coming. and I think that is almost certainly going to happen. I still have a Twitter account, but I can't get into it because they suspended it because I linked to my own blog for the second time. And I switched over to Gab. I didn't use Twitter at all. I think it was the month of either September or October. I don't need Twitter. I have no need for it. Right now I'm on Periscope, but we'll see how long that lasts, and that's fine because there are new alternatives coming rapidly, and so it's just it's so important to support these alternatives, and well, Periscope is definitely paused because it's owned by Twitter. However, they're not kicking people like Mike Cernovich or Scott Adams or me off yet because these are the ones that people actually watch, and so it'll be really interesting to see what happens when Twitter tries to ban the president. It's when he moves to Gab, I mean, we hope he won't soon because that would pretty much blow them out. They're not big enough, they're not ready to handle that yet, but it's going to happen. And so just be patient, be supportive, and be enthusiastic. If you notice, I'm not the least bit upset. I think this is fantastic. I think this is great. I've been talking about this coming since I published SJWs Always Lie a year ago, August. And so, it's just part of the process. SJW convergence is not going to stop. It is never going to stop. They are not going to stop coming after you. It doesn't matter if you're not alt-right, you're just alt-light, or you're just a conservative or whatever. If you are to the left of CNN, they are coming after you. And because their vision for society is all-encompassing, and it does not permit any room for divergence. It does not permit any room for ideological diversity. And so what that means is that, everybody is now, in their opinion, a Nazi. Therefore, you are all fair game, and they'll come after your job, they'll come after your family, they'll come after your friends, they will come after literally everything. And that's why it is not going to do you any good whatsoever to try to lay low. Yeah, somebody just said, look at the attack on Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton could not be more submissive. He could not be more loyal to the left, to the social justice narrative, to intersectionality, all of that stuff. And yet, they came after him hard. They came after him really hard simply because he disagreed publicly with a Muslim. Today, a candidate for the Democratic National Chairman, or the head of the DNC, the Democrat National Committee, was actually kicked out of the race because he raised the question of whether Keith Ellison's views on homosexuality, Keith Ellison is a Muslim congressman and fully endorses, the usual Muslim positions on that. He was questioning whether Ellison was a legitimate candidate for DNC chairman, and they kicked him out. Now, this is great news for the alt-right because it means that the left is doubling down. The left is doing what I predicted. In fact, I'm working on a book right now called SJWs Always Double Down, and that's what they're doing it. And so somebody said, I have good word that a black man was made into a Nazi by the left. Well, I'm an American Indian. They call me a Nazi all the time. They call everyone a Nazi. That's their one go-to. And so, it's going to, the DNC is going to move to the left. The DNC is going to move even more to the insane SJW lunacy because everyone on the left is terrified that they're going to be devoured next. SJWs always devour their own. Because, think about it, who is it easier to go after? It's really difficult to go after someone like Milo, someone like me. What do we care? We have nothing that they can take away from us. They can't take our jobs. They can't threaten our reputations. It's like the old Robin Williams joke. Stop, or I'll say stop again. I'll call you a Nazi again. so what? You've been calling me a Nazi for 20 years. Why would I care? Um, but this leads into the subject that I was originally planning to talk about. And, on the Castalia House blog, we have um, uh, I'm the lead editor of Castalia House, and we publish a lot of books. But we also have this very interesting blog. We've got 25 different bloggers. They're war gamers, they're RPGers, they are authors, they're book reviewers, and it's a really good mix of people. And so, but the one thing they all have in common, not everybody is right wing, certainly not everyone is alt right, but everyone is anti SJW. And so, you get a lot of interesting perspectives. And one of the things that was interesting, I was reading today, is one of our new guys. You might know him as Daddy Warpig, but he's a new blogger there, and he's contributing. And he wrote this really interesting article that was talking about the way that Star Wars had destroyed pulp, or taken over pulp. And what he means by pulp is he means the stuff before the 1950s, before the Campbellian science fiction revolution. And what he pointed out, and I'd never thought about this, is that before the Campbellian revolution, there tended to be a lot more heroism. There tended to be a lot more focus on manly men, masculinity, doing heroic things. The whole idea was that a man was going to be tested, and then he was going to be tested, and then he was going to have to do something self-sacrificial in order to save others. That's if you look at what the definition of heroism is, it essentially boils down to risking your life, being courageous and risking your life in order to save others. And and heroism therefore is based on love. Greater love is giving your life for your brother. And so heroism is loving someone or something enough to be willing to sacrifice your life for it. Now, the reason this struck me is I was recently reading a fantasy novel by a guy named Dave Duncan. And it's not a bad book. It's actually, it's a little bit cheesy in parts, it's a little bit lightweight in parts, but it's not bad. But the thing that was interesting to me was that everyone who was in a position to be heroic, especially the lead character, he's a nobleman whose whole family gets wiped out. He gets banished to the legions, and he is sent into battle where he ends up falling down in the mud and hiding because he's kind of a coward and he's afraid. Anyhow, through various incidences and accidents, he manages to save the legionary standard just as the signifer, the standard bearer, gets killed. This is a hugely heroic act. He automatically becomes a signifer. He automatically becomes a very high status guy in the legion. He's considered a huge hero, and yet he did nothing heroic. He didn't intend to save the standard. He actually had run from battle, and he'd also hidden at one point. So here you have this accidental hero. Is that starting to sound familiar? The accidental hero is the modern fantasy and science fiction writers' way of removing heroism while keeping the trappings that are required in order to tell the story. And so, because here they need to put him in a position to do something. Well, how does he get from one position to the other? He needs to do something heroic, except for the fact that he's not a hero. The writer doesn't want him to be a hero. The writer is probably a scrawny gamma guy who's never taken a punch in his life, never fought in his life, never had to stand up for anything in his life. So he doesn't have any understanding of heroism at all. And we see this again and again and again. It's more than the reluctant hero. Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings books is a reluctant hero. He knows he's the blood of Numenor. He knows that he is responsible for standing up to Sauron, and in the books, it's a responsibility he embraces. He doesn't want to be king. That's the thing. He doesn't want to be king, but he knows he has to. He knows that no one else can do it, and so he sacrifices himself. He puts his own life at risk. He sacrifices his dreams in order to become, the king, the Return of the King. In the movie, however, Aragorn is not a hero. Aragorn is somebody who basically wants to run from his destiny, and the only thing that he really does is it's thrust onto him by Gandalf, and then he goes in to face the dead, and then they magically make everything work for him. And so, so what we're seeing there is Peter Jackson was somebody who doesn't understand heroism. He's somebody that heroism frightens. And, now you say, what does all this stuff have to do with the God Emperor? What does this have to do with that? Well, Donald Trump is someone who has given up his life, his very comfortable life, his very powerful life, and he has literally put it at risk. And he has done so because he believes it's necessary for the nation. He's done so because he wants to save America. He is an actual hero. The God Emperor is worthy of our admiration and respect, not because he's been successful in winning an election and that sort of thing. It's because he has been willing to put himself in the front of the battle for Western civilization, and he is willing to take the heat. He is willing to take, as he said, the arrows. To me, it was one of the most deeply meaningful things that I've seen in my adult life was that speech that he gave, and he said, all these slings and arrows are coming at me, and I will take them for you gladly. Because he knows those attacks are aimed at you. Those attacks are aimed at me. Those attacks are aimed at the American nation. Those attacks are aimed at Western civilization. And those attacks are aimed at the white race. And so, like somebody said, there's clearly a gamer here. He said Donald is tanking for us. That is what he is. In World of Warcraft terms, he's a tank. And that's why it's so important for people to back him and support him vociferously. Don't back down on social media. When your friends and family are getting, are doing their SJW freak out stuff, don't let it go uncommented. Say things like, I think the man's a hero. Say things like, long live the God Emperor. Say things like, whatever it takes. The important thing to do is to continue to show a strong level of popular support that he actually has, because the media and the left is working very, very hard in order to try to create a false narrative that he has no support, that nobody is behind him, and that he is isolated and left all alone. That's something we talk about in SJW Always Lie. One of in SJW's Always Lie, I lay out the 8-point structure of an SJW attack. And one of the first things they always try to do is isolate you. And so what they are trying very hard to do right now is to isolate Donald Trump. Now that's very difficult to do because Trump knows to surround himself with loyal people. Trump demands loyalty. That's something that I've learned from him. With the various with the Dread Elk, with the Vile Faceless Minions, with the guys at Castalia House and Alpenwolf and Infogalactic, the one thing that is an absolute must is loyalty, and that's something that you need to cultivate in yourself, and that's something that you need to cultivate in others, because when you have that level of loyalty, and you combine it with people who are willing to be heroes, when people who are willing to sacrifice their own interests for others, you have a very, very powerful combination that the left finds almost impossible to destroy. They'll attack it. They'll attack it nonstop. You know, you'll see that here. You'll see people popping up in the comments that are trying to demoralize, trying to minimize, trying to discredit, all that sort of thing. So what? I'm used to it. I have my 535 vile faceless minions who will back me up in a heartbeat anytime I give the word, and everybody knows it. And so that's why you don't see too many people wanting to get into the usual social media battles with me, because they know what's going to come their way. But that's something that and that's what you see when you see people talking about, hey, Vox, did you hear that Mike said this thing, or Milo did that, or whatever? Do you ever hear me criticize those guys? No, because they're my allies, and because they're loyal to me and I'm loyal to them. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything. It doesn't mean that we think the same. What it means is that if I've got criticism for Stefan Molyneux, if I'm going to criticize Roosh, I'm going to call him up, or I'm going to send him an email, and we're going to do it privately. I've had Milo chew me out on email. I've had Mike tell me that I'm being a pussy about stuff, and he was right. It was a landmark moment in my life, and it was very important to get called out by somebody who is a loyal friend. And so, when people say, "Oh, but so and so disagrees with you on this," or Mike's a civic nationalist, or Milo's gay, or whatever, or Stefan's an atheist, I don't care. Do you really think I don't know that? And Donald Trump, I suspect, is much the same way with the men that surround him, like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller and some of those other folks. I would love to be a fly on the wall at some of the conversations between Bannon and Miller and Kushner and the God Emperor, because I suspect that those conversations are a lot more heated and there's a lot more arguing going on than the people outside that circle might think. Certainly, when we're in discussions, we we disagree all the time, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean that when the heat piles on to one of those guys, that my minions and I are not going to be there. And so, but what we're doing is something that you not only can do yourself, but it's something that you can be a part of. And I'm encouraging you guys to do that. I'm saying, it doesn't matter how small it is. If you've read any of our books, write a review. That affects the Amazon algorithm, and it boosts the profile. It doesn't matter if there's only one review on a book that you've read that you want when you want to support the author, or 700. Write a short review, give it an honest rating, and do your little bit. Why am I wearing tonight? Why did I wear this shirt? I wore the Gab shirt because I want to support Andrew Torba, and I want to support Gab. It's everything that we do, every choice that we make, we can either be helping others, helping our allies, or we can be ignoring them. Now, not everything has anything directly to do with our allies, but when you've got the chance, when you've got the opportunity, support your people, support your ideological kin. If you're alt-right, support the alt-right. If you're conservative, support the conservatives. If you're Republican, support the Republicans. Do not support the SJWs. Do not support the left. So anyhow, that's all I've got for tonight. Some people have been asking where to find this stuff. The Castalia House blog, just go to castaliahouse.com, and then you can see a blog attachment, a blog tab. You click on that, and then you'll see it all. There's thousands of posts or hundreds of posts there. My blog you can find voxday.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic is infogalactic.com. Gab is gab.ai. I hope the audio is better tonight. I was kind of excited about the microphone, so I don't know if that improved things or not, but I don't know if having the dark stream hashtag dark stream worked better, but that's good. I will definitely tell DW and Jeffro they're doing great work. They really are. So let's take a question or two. Oh, and crypto.fashion for shirts. Yeah, crypto.fashion for the t-shirts. Okay. Advice for Anons hiding among libs family job. Yeah, I mean you need to be smart about it. You know, if you're in a position where you simply cannot afford to lose your job, then maybe you need to keep your mouth shut. But start looking for another job. Start looking for a place where you can do what you want. In terms of family, I wouldn't worry about family. If family is really important to them, they'll be okay with the diversity of opinion. If they're not okay with the diversity of opinion, then I think you need to question how good your family relationships are. Yeah, read another book that I would highly recommend reading is Anti-Fragile by Nicholas Nassim Taleb. It's a fantastic book, and I highly recommend it. How can we help our European brothers and sisters win the upcoming elections? I would say get on Twitter and Gab and Facebook, and just find the Front National, find the Liga Nord, and help push those things. And then in terms of the SJW business boycott list, there is an sjwlist.com. Get involved on that, and you'll be able to. I think there's various lists of various different things. So anyhow, that's all I've got time for tonight. So thanks for coming by, and I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.